I'm Heather Fleming, founder of In Purpose Educational Services and author of the book My Black Friend Says.
And I'm Delaney Ray, the coordinator of the LEAP Institute. So what do we do now, Heather?
Same thing we've always done, Delaney. Keep fighting for an equitable world.
This time in a podcast.
Welcome to the Listen, Learn, Love podcast, where comfortable friends chat about uncomfortable topics.
Let's do it.
So, Delaney.
Yes, Heather.
I was sitting and I was thinking about our whole theme, and that is that this is comfortable conversations between two friends, you know, about sometimes uncomfortable topics. So,
yes.
I thought about what makes us friends. I wanted to give you a little test. You ready?
Ooh, a test. Okay, I'm ready.
So, friendship test.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Would you tell me if I had a boogie in my nose?
Yes. If we were somewhere in public or around other people, I would probably just hand you a tissue and wink profusely.
Yeah.
But if we were just alone, I'd be like, dude, you got a hanger.
Okay, so you passed that question.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Next one. Would you tell me if my outfit was ugly?
Well, this is hard for me to answer. I'm no fashionista. I mean, if you truly were wearing something ugly, I would probably be really excited and be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Because I would assume you did it on purpose. I don't know if you remember, but I had shared a photo in our friend group and somebody asked me, and it was a photo I was wearing that the joke of the photo was one of my guinea pigs was in my pocket. I don't know if you remember, one of our friends asked me if that was a smock I bought just for carrying around my guinea pigs. And I was like, yeah, no, that's actually my dress. I wear that. I wear that to church. So yes and no. I might tell you your outfit was ugly, but it would probably be a compliment. I think I may have failed that answer.
I'll give you a pass on that.
Okay.
Here's one. It's kind of a little bit harder. Would you introduce me to your other friends and family members?
Absolutely. Would not even. I mean, I would be excited to introduce you to friends and family. Post-corona, we can introduce people again.
Exactly. I would be proud to introduce you as well. I mean, I've already.
Even if I'm wearing a smock with a guinea pig.
Even if you're wearing a smock with a guinea pig in your pocket, I would still be proud to say that you're my friend.
That's precious. Thank you.
Okay. Would you come? This is harder.
Okay.
Would you come into Black spaces with me and invite me into your spaces?
Yeah, absolutely. The answer to both is yes. If I'm being honest, I would probably stress a little just that I would want to double check myself that I wasn't bringing in any kind of negative energy into your spaces. But the answer is just absolutely yes.
Well, you know, one of the things and kind of the point of our this week's episode is that when all is said and done, we are an interracial friendship. And so I'm a Black woman. You are biracial. And in the
biracial, Hispanic, and white for people who haven't met me.
Yes. And so in the end, you know, with both of us, our racial identities are very, very important. But we are very fortunate to have friends who are outside of our racial groups, but still love and accept us because of the fact that they start doing some of those things, like standing up against injustices, sometimes even if it's their family and friends that are committing those injustices.
Especially when it's family and friends, because that's, I think, sometimes the hardest to point out and to challenge people's beliefs.
Well, I mean, in the end, that's the heart of it. When we think about where our real realm of influence is, it is within our families and friend groups, and it becomes really, really important. You know, my best friend, she is white. You know her. We've been best friends since we were 18 years old. I won't say how many years that is. And
Just a couple.
just a couple. And so one of the things that we've had to do a lot is to work on the interracial aspect of our friendship. And it is a lot of work, to come to understanding of each other, etc. And then, one of the things that I've had to define as a Black woman is what it means to be my friend.
Mm.
And I don't know if you've had that experience, but, to be my friend, there's certain expectations that I'm going to have within an interracial friendship. And that really includes, me being able to bring my whole self into the relationship, to talk about things that worry me, things that are concerning me, because, due to intersectionality, some of my concerns and challenges are going to be different than yours because we're not exactly at the same intersection.
Correct. Yeah.
But when we get down to it, it's really important to have friends from different racial groups. And so I wanted to take a minute for us to learn a little bit about that.
Absolutely.
So here's a fun statistic, Delaney. Did you know?
Probably not.
Did you know that 91% of all white people's friends are other white people?
Honestly, I'm not surprised.
Why not?
I'm not surprised because we have hundreds of years of history where we have systematically separated races when it comes to education, job opportunities, housing opportunities. This has been done purposefully in our country for so many generations that I guess that doesn't totally surprise me. Where I live right now is such a white area that you could go through your entire normal week and probably only minimally interact with other races. Now, I grew up in an area that was very differently. I did not grow up in an area like this, so I was shocked when I moved here. But living here, I would say I'm not surprised.
And I think that you make a really good point. And actually, that is what research shows us. So according to a study published in August of 2016 by the Public Religion Research Institute, researchers Daniel Cox, Juhem Navarro Rivera, and Dr. Robert P. Jones found out the following about people's social networks. And so it included the fact that white Americans, 91% of people comprising their social networks are white. And 4% are Black, and then 5% are some other race. But even though it's a little bit lesser number, the great majority of Black Americans also have friend groups that are predominantly Black. And so 83% of all Black people's friends are other Black people. 8% are white, and 6% are some other race. Now, when it gets to the Hispanic people, Hispanic Americans, they do even better, a little bit better. 64% are Hispanic, 19% are white, and 9% are some other race. In the end, we tend to be a very segregated society. And so when we think in terms of why certain things happen, why certain, people have certain attitudes as far as their political beliefs, religious beliefs, etc., part of it is that they have not had any experience with people other than those who are of the same experience.
Right. Or they have experience with one or two people, and so they generalize that the entire population is of a particular race or even religion is going to be exactly like the one or two people they have experienced.
Exactly. That it's going to be monolithic, and it is not. Here's what was even more surprising. 75% of all white Americans have absolutely no BIPOC people in their inner circle.
So that does surprise me. I mean, I guess, well, maybe not when you say inner circle. I guess it doesn't surprise me when you say inner circle, if that means close friends. But I guess it surprises me that with as many opportunities as there are to be involved in communities, that number isn't a little bit higher.
That's true. But again, if you have people that can go through their entire day or entire week with very minimal contact, then the reality is that they're going to gravitate towards like-minded individuals with that they have, something in common with. And think about it. Where do you meet your friends? You meet them at work. You meet them
in your
at church.
neighborhood.
Well, if all of those areas are very racially homogenous, then you won't have much opportunity to meet and connect with other people that are of a different, like I said, a different experience. And so that number doesn't surprise me. The 91% surprised me more than the 75%, which is kind of weird.
Well, and now that we're talking about it, it does make sense, because I'll tell you, I've joked before, especially around here where we live, if I'm your brown friend, like you need some, you need some more friends. You need some diversity, because I'm not that brown. Like if you consider me your diverse friend, like, wow, that's I'm pretty white if I'm your brownest friend. So yeah, actually, now that we're joking about it, that does seem legit.
Well, one of the things that I talked about, we had something happen in one of our Facebook groups, and the lady said, "My black best friend." I was like, my best friend would never refer to me as her black best friend.
Now, I might refer to something you said in your book, because the name of your book is My Black Friend Says. But
that's the irony. That's why I named my book that, because of the fact that,
it's a great name for the book, but I better be able to tell you the page and paragraph if I'm going to use that sentence.
Well, I just think about the fact that Barb has probably always said, my best friend Heather, and then my race comes up, then, she'll say, Heather's black. But other than that, she's not getting ready to lead in with, my black best friend said that blah, 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 blah. Part of being my friend is seeing me as Heather first, and then seeing the experiences that has helped to shape me into the person that I am. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of people that when that was the reason why when I started in Purpose, one of the things that I implemented was an activity called Come to the Table, an event called Come to the Table. The reason for it was that I was doing training and I was talking to people about the fact, hey, you need to diversify your friend group so that you can, have people of different experiences that you care for, and therefore will be more tuned in to some of these issues of equity. And one of the biggest questions that I kept getting from people is, but where do I go?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I go? And so what you said is true. When you live in homogenous areas like that, it is very, very difficult to do just this.
Yes.
Just this, just say, I need to diversify my friend group. I need to expose my children to different cultures, different experiences, people of different races, religions, sexual orientations, etc., just so that they have a feel for equity, a necessary feel for equity. And, they have someone that they care for. I give this example when I'm talking to people. Have you ever heard of Derek Black?
Yes.
Okay. So his story, but Derek Black was raised to be a white supremacist.
Yes.
And he decided to go to college. And he ended up, the program he wanted to study ended up being at a liberal arts college. Eventually, he was outed as this white supremacist superstar, rising star. And a gentleman invited him to Shabbat on a Friday night. And he came in and he, just started talking to people and getting to know people. And the result was that he ended up changing his mind totally about some of these white supremacist ideas that he had been taught. And he began to, retrain his mind and his biases away from some of those thoughts. And so the most important aspect of changing some of these trends we have right now in our country towards white supremacy and inequity ends up being relationships.
Yes. Yeah.
When it comes to equity, one of the best ways to encourage inclusion is through relationships.
When you get to know someone personally, and share affection personally with that person, it becomes really hard to believe the caricature of that person that you have been presented with
It
maybe your
does.
entire life. And
It
that
does.
goes for race, that's LGBTQ, that's Islam, Judaism, that's across the board. I think we get these ideas of these characters that have been presented to us. And yeah, that kind of gets destroyed when you meet and love somebody that you previously had judged falsely.
Dr. Danielle Allen, she is a political theorist at Harvard University. She wrote in her article Toward a Connected Society that basically we need to implement the ideal of social connectedness. And what that means is that we need to look at increasing what's called bridging ties. And so she talked about and discussed there's 3 types of social ties that we can have.
Okay.
There's bonding ties, and those are generally the strongest ones. So those are our connections to our kin, our close friends, and social similars is what she calls it.
Okay.
Then there's bridging ties, and those are generally a little bit weaker, but they connect people across demographics. Okay, so across cleavages in age, race, class, occupation, religion, etc. And then the final one is linking ties, and those are the vertical connections that people have in a status hierarchy. So like, for instance, if I walk into the store, I have a linking tie to the cashier.
Oh, okay.
As a customer to cashier, etc. So what Dr. Allen concluded is that building bridging ties are going to be most significant because they are about social structure. So when we look at schools, the military, political bodies, those have been the institutions that bring people from different backgrounds together. So our bonding ties, that's already what we're going to have with people that we know and love. And what we need to increase more are those ties that are across demographics and that allow us to really connect with one another. Right. She said a connected society is one that maximizes active, in the sense of alive and engaged, bridging ties. And so it takes the work of institutions and it ends up having a circular impact. So the institutions help to improve the bridging ties. The bridging ties help to improve the institutions. And remember, one of the things that I always stress is that ultimately anti-racism work is about changing systems.
Yes.
So even in these development of these personal relationships, we still have the ability to change systems when all is said and done.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So Delaney?
Yes.
I know that your next question is, how do we build a connected society? You were going to ask that, weren't you?
I am. I hope you're not going to just leave us hanging here, Heather. How do we build a connected society?
Well, Delaney, one way is to be intentional about building cross-racial relationships. Okay?
Agreed.
If you don't have many people of other races and experiences in your social structures and your social circles, then you need to look for some.
And right now with social media, I think that it has become easier than ever to find groups and people that you share interests with that aren't exactly like you.
Exactly. Now, I do want to tell people, I know some of you out there are like, maybe Heather will be my friend. Unfortunately, I am stretched thin amongst the whites.
Heather, you're so popular.
I'm full up. I don't have any more room.
You're not taking applications.
I'm not taking any more applications right now.
So should I be concerned? Is there a chance that I have to like reapply, or am I like grandfathered in for a certain amount of time?
Good. You're good.
Okay.
You're
all right. Well, let me know because I will freshen up my resume for friendship.
I'm just saying that in the words of Drake, I think it was Drake, no new friends. No new friends.
But there's also lots of volunteer opportunities. Well, not volunteer opportunities for Heather's friendship, obviously, but I know that I have participated in, there's so many ways to get involved legitimately in communities. What I'd hate is for somebody to rush out and like run up to every Black and brown person they see and desperately beg for friendship. But volunteering to teach English to immigrant and refugees. There's so many ways to come out of your comfort zone, even if what's in your neighborhood and your tight community isn't diverse. You don't have to go too far to find diversity.
You don't. I do warn people, though, about white saviorism. And so
boy.
That's a whole nother episode.
Oh, boy.
If you're going to do volunteer opportunities, you have to do it from a very pure place. That's number one. And then number two, still realize that even though that's part of the work of anti-racism, most of the work of anti-racism that white people need to do, it's going to be with other white people. Yeah, we'll have that episode later.
Yeah, that's a can of worms right there.
Yeah, it is. Okay, another tip. If you begin looking around your work, schools, extracurricular activities, etc., and you find that none of those realms include people of other experiences, it's time to begin asking why. So is it because of systemic barriers? Is it because of behavior that you're personally displaying? Is it because of your own unexamined biases? This great quote by Charles Blow, he basically says you don't have to do things with malice in order to do great harm. Sometimes our unexamined biases can cause great harm. And so, and we can be inflicting that damage in a way that we don't even realize it. So if you're looking around and you don't see, maybe you see people of color, they come into an environment and then they quickly leave the environment, whether it's your church or if it's your job. If you have high turnover at your job with people of color, then you need to look systemically, and then you need to look at some of those microaggressions that might be driving people away.
Right.
If you discover that there are systemic barriers to the inclusion of diverse experiences in your realms of influence and socialization, consider what changes you should advocate for in order to make inclusion a priority in reality. Change begins with you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't look around. I know it's a trite little saying, but basically you can't look around to see who's going to make the change.
Yeah, you can't wait for somebody else to come.
Can't wait for somebody else to come.
You do this for you.
Have the ability to make the change, begin the process of making the change. Go talk to the people who have the power to create that change. Whatever you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a parent, expose your children to diverse experiences.
Yes.
I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
Because it is much harder to unlearn behaviors than it is to learn them correctly the first time around.
Good point.
Yeah. Make your education a priority. And so our podcast is called Listen, Learn, Love. And the reason why is because even though it's all of this is complicated, 3 basic steps, 3 basic actions that everyone needs to be doing is listening, learning, and loving. So listen intently to diverse voices, learn from them, and then share what you are learning with others. So that the sharing, that's part of the love. You change your behavior, and then you also show other people, what you're doing and how you're attempting to be better. And then if you have a homogenous friend group, bring them along with you for the ride.
Right.
Because
learn together.
Like I said earlier, hey, it's the work that you need to be doing as anti-racist is within your own groups.
Mm-hmm.
There is stuff that you need to do with others, but the burden of educating yourself and helping to educate others, falls on you. Are those good tips for interracial friendships, Delaney?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
One last tip. Don't touch my hair ever. I think that's the universal Black friendship tip.
And ever means ever.
Ever.
Never, ever.
Never,
ever, ever.
Ever. Ever. Hey, guess what, Delaney?
What, Heather?
I'm so glad to be your friend.
Oh, I'm glad to be your friend, even if you will never, ever, ever, ever come to me for fashion advice, ever. And that's okay.
Yeah, I think the hamster apron dress.
I mean, I probably was also wearing socks and Birkenstocks. You know what? After that, there might be an opening for one more friend for Heather. If you get your application in.
I would never delete you as a friend because of your dress. I might not go out in public with you.
Oh, I see how you are.
I would never say, no, you can't be my friends and those Birkenstocks. Now, Crocs, that's a whole nother conversation.
That's where you draw the line.
Right. I start questioning your judgment at that point.
And it's just all over from there.
Well, this has been fun.
And informative.
I'm glad we can learn more about what it means to be each other's friends.
That's really the basis. Being able to learn from each other, listen to each other. That's how we get to the point of being able to love each other.
It truly is. So we just have to keep going, keep showing people, and keep hoping that something we say and do will change hearts, change minds, and change systems.
Absolutely. Thanks, Heather.
Love you, Delaney.
Love you.
Thanks for listening to this episode. You can support us on Patreon by looking for the Listen, Learn, Love podcast, or follow us on Facebook and Instagram at InPurposeES. That is INPurposeES. You can also follow us on Twitter at InPurposeEA, or visit our website at www.inpurposeea.com.
Heather, this was great. Do you want to do it again next week?
I sure do, Delaney.
Awesome. Talk to you then.
Bye.